Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This is a continuation of our live stream series on Foam Pepakura, as well as Foam Pepakura for Iron Man. We're working on a Mark 7 Iron Man suit. So without further ado, let's jump over to the Pep. Awesome. So today we're going to be looking at the head and the neck, i.e. the helmet, and the sort of pieces that make up a neck piece for an Iron Man suit. Forgive me if there's a little bit of like an echo here. We're trying something new and we're working out some teething problems with our recording equipment. So, we in the past have looked at the chest and abs and the back, whole arm, leg, feet, even hand pieces. I've got a nice video out right now on how to make Iron Man's hands. But today we're going to be looking at the iconic mug. We're going to be looking at the helmet and the neck. So first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about what makes a Pepakura model a good model. We've talked about this a little bit on this series. So this model definitely has a lot of hallmarks of things that I would look for. Good evening, Melvin. In a Pepakura model for foam builds. It's pretty straightforward. There's pretty clean, clear angles. And the delineations are not super at odds with the actual material. So you can see here there's a bit of a groove marked in there, and we can either include that or we can choose to completely separate it. I know in the past, I can see here, I chose to actually separate that inner face out, and I basically just set all the pieces next to each other, and that looks pretty good. Of course, instead of hiding the lines, as some of you may know, past Jaden had a nasty tendency of just painting all the lines he didn't want white rather than hiding them. So the only difference really from a print perspective is that it leaves the 3D super messy and kind of unclear, even though you can still sort of click through and find all the pieces, and it's just not as nice. One thing I do not like about this build, though, and this is not a texture thing, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure if it's multiple objects. Nope, it's only one object. For whatever reason, the faces, like the exterior that the model recognizes, for some reason, is inverted on most of the back half of the helmet. I'm not really sure what that's about. I could probably go into Blender and fix that, but like that's a pain in the butt, especially if we're already here and we're already ready to go. So to that end, I think today what we're actually going to do is work on a new model that I have been playing around with, and that is this guy. This guy has no texture file, and I'm okay with that. He's just got this sort of color, and there's nothing wrong with that. All I do to sort of get around that is I go to 3D menu, I go to View Setup, and I click Shade. And Shade is a lot like the base white, except it adds a lot more depth to the shadow, so I can really see the contours of the piece. Now, does this model lack some detail? Yes. But because most of the faces are long and connected, and I can still see the actual shapes that I'm supposed to be working with, I'm not worried about that, because what that'll actually allow us to do is physically tack together all the pieces. You can sort of see I've already started to do that, because this whole piece all becomes one actual piece as recognized by the model, which is actually what we want. We want the 3D form to be very clear and concise. So, to that end, let's dive in. You can see already I've sort of delineated that this piece from over the cranial ridge to the first edge there, down and around the faceplate, across here is all supposed to be one piece. Now, the real Sticky Wicket is leaving enough space that there can be a cut line join across here, because I don't think we could reasonably make an undercut that would satisfy how sharp this edge needs to be. And I think it would probably mess up our overall shape a little bit if we tried to do that. So we have a little bit of finagling to do. First, we're going to try our best to lift up this piece and just get it out from like inside of this other piece. We're also going to do our best to clean up the direction of these darts. I had a gentleman recently say that when he tries to disjoin or join two faces, it just moves it from one to the other. And that is because the way 2D and 3D representations work is that functionally, when this thing is 3D, these two are going to connect. But these two are also going to connect, and so are these two. And obviously, because it's a 3D shape, when it's all together, it can't be perfectly flat and flush when we're in the 2D. So if I go and try to move it to this to try and join that there, it'll actually just move it from there to there. So you have to kind of play a fun game where you're constantly trying to see how far you can take liberties, essentially, with the model to get it to where you want it to be. Let's see here. I can join that here. I'm just looking for lots and lots of tiny little ways to slowly, you can see I've almost lifted this thing out of the other piece's part. Okay, that's pretty good. I bet there's a way. Let's see, can I do it this way? No, that won't quite get us what we're looking for. Maybe if I do this. Oh, look, it's almost there. And I think with this, yep, we'll have lifted that part out of there. Now, it's a little tight. It's kind of a tight cut. I might still fiddle with that a little bit, but this works now because these parts are intersecting at all. You'll note these parts are intersecting, but I'm okay with that because that's essentially a geometry problem, which is that this piece gets pushed inward, and that angled join means that this line right here, right here is functionally longer than this outer line, so it overlaps slightly. That's a construction problem, though. I'd rather have it flat like this. So let's see here. You can see I've already sort of cleaned up this side. You know, we got the directionality of these darts up and down, and that's really what we want. We want it to be nice and clean and even, so we know exactly where we're taking liberties with the pattern pieces. Now, we're going to try and even this out as best we can, because we can achieve the sort of round dome of the front of the faceplate with heat forming. So we're going to turn this into one piece across here. And to do that, we're also going to have to, again, take some minor liberties with these darts, these easing cuts. And we're going to do this as evenly as possible. Is that? No, it's not. Sorry, I thought that was overlapping in the middle, and I was like, I'm going to just move where that joins. And the good news is heat forming will also sort of bring that edge together. And I do know that this works because this is actually the 3D model that I had originally used for one of my sort of thesis pieces. This Iron Man mask, which I do love. It was a study in metalware, but as you can see, the pattern does work really well, and it works really well just doing a very subtle heat form along here rather than having a dart, say, right in the middle that you have to, an edge right in the middle that you have to cover up, you have to sand, etc. It's just no good. So we want to leave space for ourselves to have very, very clean builds. Here we go. You know, and now I'm just evening essentially across the two sides. So this goes like that. Just like that, that's the same as that side. Here we go. Oh my goodness. My belly is quite full. My beautiful and wonderful fiancé made an excellent dinner, and I'm resisting the urge to fall straight into a food coma. We got work to do. We got pep to do. So we're gonna do that. There we go. Let's see. There we go. Actually, if I join it this way, well, that'll be better. Sweet. All right. So now we're just gonna kind of even out along this edge. I'm just making sure that this actually is where all this starts. Yep, because that goes there, this goes here, and that goes there. Here we go. Awesome. And you can kind of see how I would go along and do this. I am going to do a little quick reveal on you guys because tonight's live stream is going to be a little shorter than some of my other ones because I have a lot of work to do on tomorrow's video. For those of you who don't know, we have a really awesome Star-Lord. We have a really awesome Star-Lord build guide coming out tomorrow that I'm super excited about. This thing looks truly incredible, especially for a foam build. And I've got a lot to do on that video, so we're going to cut just a little short tonight. So I have pulled out all of the cooking channel stops, and somewhere in here, I think it's in here. It is in here. Is the I have a finished version of this. Haha. I tricked you. So you can kind of see that where I go with this, which is you sort of even out across these edges. And the only thing this model doesn't have is it doesn't have a line, the detail line going across here. I essentially free-handed that based on where it starts and ends and lines up with this. So that's super, super chill. Thank you. No, this is I had a lot of fun making that helmet. I had a lot of fun making these helmets. Both of these foam helmets, I had a lot of fun making. And I think that these templates are really going to help out some folks because this especially basically reduces Iron Man's helmet down to, let's see, 1, 2 for the most of it. We got the chin, under the chin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, thereabouts. Here's the thing. I haven't done the armor, but I don't know if you know this, Melvin, but my first build on this channel actually was, where is it? Might be in my downloads. Nobody look at my downloads. I'm moving this. Hang on. Let's see here. It was a sort of a play on somebody else's model. I had a lot of fun messing with it, but by the time we were done, we wound up with, good lord, where is it? Hang on. Rescue. Here it is. I have, like I said, I haven't done, what? Open it. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, no, this was one of the first builds I did on this channel. You can actually check it out. It's under builds on my channel. Please like and subscribe if you like these videos and these builds and these templates. Most of these templates are free. I release most of my work for free. It's very rewarding for me to see other people benefit from this knowledge. I do have some paid templates that you can check out over my Etsy. Again, there's a link down in the description. But if you're at all interested in just supporting the channel and a lot of this content, I have a Patreon. I have 4 patrons. They are wonderful people, and I really, really appreciate their assistance in these builds. They contribute ideas, and they are just wonderful people. And if you want to become a patron, you know, check it out. But no, I have actually done the helmet at the very least. It's a very sleek, svelte sort of helmet as compared to the Mark 7. But one of the things I love about the Mark 7 is that it's such a robust sort of Iron Man armor. You know, it's got the big jetpacky sort of shapes to it because they really wanted to free. It's because they wanted to free up Robert Downey Jr.'s hands when they were, you know, filming and whatnot. So let me see here. I think I had another potential change though. Am I crazy? I thought I had another version of this. I might not have had it, because I know at one point I had considered just layering up the side, but obviously I didn't do that in PEP. That's okay. That's a complicated thing to talk about. But so we've got the helmet, and the helmet is fairly clean, fairly clear, and not only that, it's got all of the etch lines and the undercuts that you need to do to achieve this sort of built in there, so you don't have to work too hard. The actual templates themselves make the shape, you know? But I digress. The other half of this this video, is going to be looking at Iron Man's neck. Now, I want to go back to our conversation about what makes good PEP for foam, because you could talk about this, which is a movie accurate representation of what's sort of underneath this area in the Iron Man Mark 7 suit. This is Eye of Sauron's Mark 7 neck. Now, it's fairly accurate, and it's got some fun greebles in here that are, you know, supposed to be there. You can see this is actually the top edge of the... I think, actually, this might be multiple objects. It is. There we go. Those are actually the top edge of where the chest armor meets this. And then this sort of guides underneath there. Now, this is not a bad file. This is extremely accurate. It's got the organic shapes in there really correct, which is great. Like, that is something to be commended. But I think this would be extremely uncomfortable as a foam build, because you would constantly be A, rubbing into other pieces, and B, you would be left in an unfortunate position where you can't really turn your neck because it's basically connected to your shoulders. So here is the piece that I'm going to recommend to everybody. This is another Omar Bao 1 file, but it is something that I have pretty heavily edited. The only thing I haven't done to it yet is fixed past Jaden's mistakes and actually hidden these lines rather than just painting them all white. Because basically all we wind up doing here is, let's see. Yeah, we're going to get rid of that. We don't want that. Don't want this. I think that's... Yeah, that's it. Everything else needs to stay. And now what we've got is basically a 5-piece build, which is crazy because the abs, if you'll remember from our, I think 2 live streams ago, the abs are 5 pieces, and so is the neck. And I think that's because ultimately the neck is just a terribly complicated piece. You know, it's got to bend and sort of shift. And the reason I like this one better is because A, it's kind of shaped like a sort of a dicky thing where it just sort of ends right here, which means it's not really going to impede your motion. This piece right here and this piece glued together, and I think they form sort of just the bottom of the neck. From a construction standpoint, that's really nice because what you'll just do then is you'll take the rest of these and you can make them separate pieces. So what I would do is glue them to the back of the neck, but not to each other. So essentially they remain sort of these disconnected rings around here, but they're held together by the neck. So when you bend down, they just sort of slot together. You could either make this out of foam and fully finish it, or you could take this kind of a build, you could make it out of, say, colored red foam and just hide the fact that it's not really finished with like battle damage and or some silver paint. The only thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a second to clean up the edge pieces because boy, oh boy, was that not something I used to care about in the past, but that's a heckin' mistake, everybody. I can attest. Here we go. Oh, we don't need that. We don't need those. And I can just hide these lines now. That is phenomenal. Do 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 do. And again, hiding those lines as we go. Just a super easy way to make your Pepakura look way more professional than it already is. Awesome. Again, view setup, shade to really show off where the edges are in this material. Makes it a lot clearer. And of course, these are just sort of cut in and incensed? No. Inset. Just slightly. And that's probably the easiest way, I think, to do this, because this just sits, yes, we'll save the changes. This just sits ever so nicely underneath this. It just rests along here. There's a nice separation and depth between the built pieces, but they don't interfere with each other. They're super comfy to hold against one another. They're not going to rub funny. You could even glue the neck down if you really wanted to. So I think that's really where I'd go. Honestly, I know a lot of people who, from a cosplay perspective, just don't do the neck piece. They try to build something out to like the collar here, but they don't do a neck piece. They're just like wearing a morph suit underneath, and that's fine. That's a great way to approach it, so that you can be super mobile, and that's something that you want. Here's something we didn't get into in the previous builds that I think is just worth noting. This is a Mark 7 arc reactor. I basically just took it and took the face of it, lined it up with the rest of it, and then there's these deedly bobs, and it basically be a 2D insert inside the chest piece. Last minute stuff, because like I said, it's going to be a little shorter. I think it's worth just talking before we wrap up. It's worth just talking a little bit about about the functional versions of these pieces, because we do have functional versions of these pieces. Darkside 501st did a really great job of modeling the back of the Mark 7 suit with all of the spaces for the flaps and the things that go underneath the flaps. And I think that those are super fun. But because of the way foam is, because of its propensity to flex and not necessarily be perfectly rigid, I think that foam moving parts and foam flaps have a tendency to look a little cheap. And not in a bad way, necessarily, that it, deters you from ever doing moving parts on your builds. But if you really want to go for something that's going to slot together well, fit together with the other model here, which is the functional flaps as separate pieces, I'd recommend moving to a different medium. Sculpting and or like traditional papercraft, Pepakura, or even cardboard builds that are resin and finished in that way will get you closer to what you want there. If you want like a fully posable, moving, motorized, whole hog sort of suit, that's really the way you want to go for that. I am going to release these files very, very shortly. It'll be as part of a full build. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're really going to dig in on just sort of enjoying the craft of creating a big red man. And isn't that the dream at the end of the day? Isn't it? Because I've come so far since I first thought about making an Iron Man suit. And this is, I think, sort of, we're getting to the pinnacle of what I think we're capable of pulling off with foam. And that's really exciting. That's really exciting. So for now, I do think we're going to cut this a little short. I'm going to sing a brief little song for you guys, because I know you've come to expect it from me. But it's just going to be wishing you well. So I thought I'd sing for you guys An Irish Blessing, because it's been a lot lately, and we're moving into the Thanksgiving wink, and there's a lot going on. So enjoy. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, May God hold you in his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you all so much for being with me. This is one of the best parts of my week. I really appreciate y'all coming out. We're going to be putting out more videos soon. We're going to be doing some collaborations, more with Urban Props and even Maker and Basement. So check it out. And until then, I've been Jaden, here for Foam Armory. Thank you all so much. Take care.